Well, I ain't gonna lie, guys. I was pretty excited to create another unit showcase for the new NAT4, but it looks like we have to put everything pause as Ubisoft has recently dropped a new update for the game. Let's go ahead and talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again with a brand new video for Might and Magic Elemental Guardians. As stated, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the recent changes that have been put forth in this new version 2.2, some creature rework as well as some raid rework. So the first thing that I go ahead and mention, because we can see it right now, this is one of the things that we've been definitely looking forward to seeing, the change, the addition of the timer when it comes to the dungeon. So now we're going to be able to test our compositions and see what time we are getting in. Shout out to all the old school players out there that were basically busting out like an online stopwatch for the YouTubers and streamers out there. We all kind of did it on the side, but now we don't have to do that anymore because it's in the game. Obviously, you guys already know why it's super important as you are progressing through the game, being able to go ahead and find out exactly how much time it's taking you to clear it, so you can make a couple of changes in order to improve it. That being said, I want to remind you guys that regardless of how much this is going to be nice for us to kind of just manage our runs effectively, we still want to make sure that the consistency is there. So do not give up consistency for speed, okay? Now, probably the number one topic that everyone's going to be debating on, the recent change about the enemies, the damage scaling skills that are based on enemies' max HP. For those of you guys that may have caught this video randomly or are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. One of the biggest topics out there in community is units that have the damage based on enemies' max HP. The scaling on it was pretty high, and then when it comes to the recent raid boss that was introduced this last month, it has been quite the damage quite the damage buff, so to speak, as far as units that you're using in that. I mean, without question, the amount of damage that somebody could put on the boss with a unit that does scale off of enemies max HP versus just regular attack or defense or their own HP is completely different, and it was without a doubt giving a lot of people a decent amount of damage here. So they basically said that the damage was too strong against the IHP creatures and bosses, making the units having this type of attack almost necessary for every PvE content. And you can kind of see that with people when they were playing it, like, you know, with the recommendations that community was making, we were all about showcasing all the Nat 3 and Nat 4 units that do have this kind of skill, or for those that are fortunate to pull it, the Nat 2 Urcha Jin, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit later, that was one of the only, if not the only, Nat 2 creature that had a skill based on enemy smash HP. So obviously it was one of those things that I was excited to use, given the fact that I just could not put out the damage of my guildmates here, but unfortunately I won't be able to take advantage of that here. So if they were basically saying, in addition to that, if they reduce the damage multiplier of the enemy smash HP, the spells with low multipliers will become too weak. We observed this result with the Air Jackaman. So this might be, for anybody who's part of the MMEG community for a little bit, the Air Jackaman, the infamous video from Legend, if you guys saw back in the day, he used to showcase a speed run in Rat 10 that got a lot of talk going on here. He was able to clear Rat 10, I think, in like 40 seconds or whatnot, because the Air Jackaman, I mean, its kit overall was pretty strong, but the damage that it was able to do via enemy max HP when you had good glyphs was pretty strong here. So obviously the initial change on the Air Jackaman was made a couple of months back, and now they've recently made another change, but basically are going to be giving all new skills for the units that have this. So let's go ahead. I'm going to just kind of mention some of the changes on the units that did get changed out. So the Air Mystic, or correction, the Mystics in general were one of the units that had the first skill 1 based on enemies max HP, and the damage was just unreal when it comes to the first skill. So all those skills got changed, and now they're going to do damage based on their own max HP with a 75% chance to lower their turn bar. So obviously, depending on how you build it, you might still be able to do a decent amount of damage on it. The turn bar reduction on a first skill is going to be kind of nice for PvE content. I mean, you can see an argument for PvP, but I could see some definite good use for PvE. Even though you can't manipulate the raid boss, you can still manipulate the ads if you do decide to incorporate in this. So And that's the change on those units there. The Urtigen, the natural 2-star unit that did damage based on enemies max HP, now can inflict great damage, great damage and increased attack based on the old speed. And if the attack is critical, it steals 100% of the enemy's turn bar. So that's a nice improvement. The original one was based on enemies max HP and then reduced the enemy's turn bar by 30% if a crit. Now gives a 100% turn bar. So this is still going to be a fun unit to use when it comes to PvE content. There are a couple of other units out there that play around with the turn bar, but if you are definitely needing something to control the turn bars of your opponents or of the PvE boss, and that could be something to go ahead and do. One thing that they do want to mention is that the evolution stat that you get is been changed to speed, so it's going to be able to help out the damage on this second skill here. Now, the Jackalman, this is probably again similar to the Mystics. This is another one of those that got changed quite a bit. A lot of the Jackalmans have those skills based on the second skill, second or third skill respectively, had the damage based on the enemy's max HP. So there's been quite a bit of changes with these units here. So for the Fire Jackalman, that second skill was based on enemy's max HP. And if it was lower than 30%, it casts a zombie call. Now it attacks the enemy based on its own HP, and then the HP of the enemy is lower than 30%. Casts a zombie call over random dead ally and increases all allies' attacks for 2 turns. So yeah, that part at the very end was basically similar, but it's just essentially it just changes the damage scaling to own max HP. So Water Jackalman now, which again the second skill was originally based on enemy's HP. Let's see here. It also decreased the attack and defense for 2 turns. And then it also prevented the opponent from being healed for 2 turns if its HP was lower than 50%. Now it just inflicts great damage based on its own critical damage. And if the enemy's HP is higher than 50%, it still does the attack and defense and still prevents the heals from being added if it's lower than 50%. So again, basically, and I'm going to just kind of briefly go down this as well, because it looks like all the skills are more or less the same. It's just a matter of the scaling that has changed. So and then the same thing for Air Jackalman. It's no longer based on enemy's HP. It's now based on critical damage. So, and that's going to be interesting. Obviously, they're, having damage, based on the critical damage is pretty unique, right? Because when you think about, the focus of critical damage, if you have a high amount, it's going to, obviously yield you a good amount of damage. But if you happen to critically hit as well, I think there's going to be a little bit more added effect, right? We'll have to see what the masterminds of MMEG, the people that do a lot of theory crafting, have to say about that. We still may see some good damage potential in those, but obviously not the kind of damage that we were seeing with those skills based on enemies max HP here. Earth Jackalman, again, another great unit that we've had a couple of YouTubers, streamers out there in the community that were fortunate to have it. They were really excited about it, given the fact of the new raid boss mechanics and whatnot, and being able to do damage. But unfortunately, their skill now got changed. So it looks like their second skill that was based on enemies' HP and polymorphs for 3 turns now just does great damage. Nothing based on critical damage. It just does great damage and still does the polymorph for 3 turns, but also decreases as an AoE speed break for 3 turns. So obviously the damage is going to be low, but I think that they did make a nice little change there. It does add a little bit of value for the raid boss. AoE speed break is obviously extremely important when it comes to raid boss mechanics, the turn bar manipulation, which is something that we're going to talk about down the road here. It's been changed as well. So having not only an AoE speed break, but one for 3 turns is going to really be very beneficial. So I still feel like if you have that +1 spot that you want to work in an AoE speed break, then you can go ahead and incorporate on that one. It's still going to be pretty nice. Now his third skill was also based on enemy's max HP. Now it's just going to be based on great damage. Okay, so it does have increased attack based on self speed and disables 20% of the HP for 2 turns. Now beforehand it would curse the enemy, disabling 50%, but now with the recent change, if the enemy affected is polymorphed, then it's going to, same as beforehand. If the enemy affected is polymorphed, then it's going to disable 50% of the HP for 2 turns. So Pretty unique. Obviously, it's a nice. I mean, it's a nice skill overall. But when it comes to what we're looking at, the enemy's max HP, that's quite the nerf when it comes to the amount of damage here. Now, so before we get into some of the other changes, my personal thoughts on the recent change, I'm going to be one of the people that kind of put the stand on. While I can see the argument for making the change, I'm really not too happy about it. When we think about units that provide damage based on enemies max HP, those are some of the few units out there that you can build in a very unique fashion, but still provide yourself a decent amount of damage. So you can play around with bruiser builds, or just fast and tanky builds, something. Basically you can still provide a little bit of damage, but if it has something unique to its kit that can synergize well with your team for other aspects of the game, then you can bring that without worrying about it being super squishy. Because as you guys know, the units with attack scaling, you can build them for a ton of damage, but they're going to be relatively squishy. So if you don't have some kind of death prevention or good damage mitigation to set up, then you're gonna have a little scenario. So now I can see the argument on both ends. But obviously I'm really sad for the community that was using the Earth as Gen. But either way, we'll have to see how these changes get implemented. And for some of the units that are now based on critical damage, I still feel like they're gonna do pretty well. And I think there was an argument made about the glyph quality from the Ubisoft team, as far as like the quality of the so capping the damage would only be the artificial way to fix the issue, and would reduce a lot of the importance on good glyphs for the creatures having these spells. So my thought process on that is that even though if they're not going to go with the cap damage, I mean, the importance of good glyphs is still going to be there, right? I mean, obviously you can, if the damage was reduced, maybe not cap per se, but just overall reduced as far as the scaling on those go, there's still going to be value in providing a decent amount of glyphs, because you still want to hit a high amount of damage here. So that would make the argument for, prioritizing some of those units that you really want to see the damage potential on them by putting on good glyphs. I still think that would be relevant. I don't think it would reduce the overall importance of it. But again, that's just my initial thoughts on that. I know that once we get in a little bit of conversation in the comment section down below or in Discord, you guys can definitely give me your feedback on that. But this is my initial thoughts on it. While I could see the argument for them making the change, I'm kind of sad. I ain't gonna lie. I'm kind of sad that they made the change. I would have liked to see maybe just a little bit of damage reduction or changes on the overall damage, or if it was without a doubt just super high. So next topic that we got for the raid boss is they turned off the auto function. I guess if you had the auto function when you started the raid boss, it would go through a couple of skills, and of course you would miss out on an opportunity to cast the right skills if you need to. It looks like one of the basic ways of some of the mid to late game guilds out there being able to take down this boss is, as you guys might have guessed, the cooldown reduction, using a multiple amount of cooldown resetters in order to cycle through your skills and get yourself turn advantage, especially some of those OP units out there that people take advantage of. I believe the Earth Zealot was one of those units that everyone, if they had it, they took advantage of it, or the Air Crusader that had the cooldown reset with the attack bar manipulation was super strong as well. So now it looks like they made the change that every time a creature takes a turn, the turn bar of the boss will get a small boost. So you basically can't just continuously cycle through your abilities, not allowing the boss to, or just not allowing the boss to get as many turns here. So, but a couple of changes for the better. Stat changes: the overall speed of the raid boss was reduced, and the overall accuracy of the raid boss has been increased. So I'm happy to see the speed change. I thought wave 2 was pretty fast. I had maybe 180, 190 speed, and maybe it wasn't I don't think it was the advanced one. It might have been a Nightmare one, which is why I'm like happy that it changed, because Nightmare, I couldn't do anything about it. Like, I basically was a lost cause when it comes to my guild. I could not compete the boss would get 2 turns before I even could go 1 turn. I just couldn't be competitive for that. So I'm excited to see that. The accuracy on the raid boss has been increased, and I'm actually okay with that. There needs to be an importance of overall stats, not just speed, defense, and HP. The accuracy, the resistance is very important, and this may give you an argument for bringing in units that provide essentially a resistance buff, like a Fire Nymph. Fire Nymph is super OP, and everybody should be using it if they have it, right? Let's see. Next one here, the one-shot, one-kill ability. The cooldowns of the spell has been increased, which I'm excited about, so we're not going to see as many one-shot, one-kills. The rage mode, the cooldown of the spell has been increased as well. The damages of the rage mode, though, has been increased in addition to that cooldown, so kind of goes both ways there. We have the longer cooldown, but again, it's going to be doing more damage here, so going to have to get a little bit more out of those turns that you get. So Wave 3 specifically has a new set of spells, and I do not state which spells those are, so I guess we're just going to have to find out when we get in there. As far as bug fixing, they fixed a lot of bugs, but they didn't say anything specific. I guess we're going to have to figure out what they got going on here. And then the raid rewards have changed a little bit. As far as what you can get, it looks like they wanted to lower the participation tiers in guild raids, so they increased the amount of dark keys given for the lower tiers. So this is going to be nice. We wanted to reward lower participation, yeah. So yeah, we want to get. They're going to give them a little bit more keys. It's going to allow us to get those dark chests a little bit quicker. And so I'm actually excited about that. I felt like the dark keys, and I think this was kind of unanimous. The time it takes to get yourself a dark chest was very, very long. And the fact that the quality of the dark glyph is probably not going to be what you're looking for is obviously going to be it's just a super small chance. And even if you get a decent glyph, the chances of you rolling it to the exactly what you're looking for, it's going to take some time to get it. So this change is great. And the changes were put in for both Advance and Nightmare, so pretty happy about that. The Crystal Packs rework, this is actually something that I put forth to Ubisoft probably like 2 weeks into the game. Right now, if you took a look at the old ways, the amount of seals that you get, or the amount of crystals that you would get if you wanted to purchase seals, the value really did not change. It was basically it was directly kind of parallel to the amount of seals that you spent. So for example, the original setup was like for 500 seals you can get 710 crystals, and then 1500 was 2.1 million, which is essentially 3 times the amount. So it was a direct amount. There was no value in purchasing 1500 crystals, or sorry, 1500, using 1500 seals to purchase crystals versus 500. So people were like, oh, I need a little bit of money, then I'll just get the 500, and if I need more I can get it. Whereas from a business perspective, if you are trying to have your audience get more, double crit rate, okay, I'll save that. If you wanted your audience to get a little bit, get a little bit more value or spend more seals, then you want to make it worth their investment to do it. And now they've made that. So the changes on the 1500, if you initially you were getting 2.1, now you're getting 3.8. And when it comes to this game, the amount of crystals that you need to invest as far as upgrading and whatnot, it takes a lot of time to get the farming in. As you guys know, the farming it just takes quite a bit of time, and the majority of the glyphs that you're getting early on you're keeping, so you're not selling a lot. It's hard to make money early on in the game. So I like the change. I mean, for the people that do spend seals, obviously if you're free to play, you're going to manage your resources effectively. I'm not endorsing the fact that you should be spending your seals on crystals, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. I have spent upwards of 6,000 seals over the past 3 months. I'm very embarrassed to say that, but this is what kind of comes down when you get that good glyph that can drastically improve a unit, a core unit that you're using in something like Wrath 10 or whatnot. I mean, I'm going to do whatever is necessary to get that change, and if I don't have a lot of time to do it, then I'm going to use the resources that I've saved up by farming efficiently or clearing the quests and achievements in order to spend that. So again, it all kind of comes down to how you want to go about using your resources, but ultimately I like the change. It's obviously going to be for the better. You're going to get more value out of those seals if you do use them for buying crystals here. Okay, the change that we just talked about early on, which was the final thing that they wanted to mention, is the battle timers. Now we're going to be able to take a look at those dungeons and times, and like I said, see what what kind of times we can get and see what we can do to improve those times. So overall, I'm obviously happy for any change that goes on into the game, right? Any opportunity that Ubisoft takes to improve the game, I'm very excited to see that. Now, again, on the flip side of things, the whole enemies max HP, I wish they, like I said, I wish they kind of played around with the damage capping per se. They did make the argument because they kind of anticipated the response of the community due to the enemies max HP and the, you know, the downside of capping it. It's kind of being a temporary fix, but I thought that would have been a good route. And the enemies max HP, you know, units, I do like them, but I felt that the damage was overwhelming. So now, you know, we're gonna have to just see how these changes go around and see if anything gets changed as far as the meta goes. So what I will do though, just to kind of close off the video, we do have a dark chest that we're gonna open, and I've been saving up the pieces here. I was gonna save for, you know, when I get maybe like 2 of them or whatnot here, but I'm like, okay, whatever. We'll go ahead and open it up and see how lucky we can get. I've been watching Legends videos. He opened 2 up already, and he hasn't been too fortunate. So we'll see if the luck is going to come back our way. So, all right. Let's see what we got here. Oh my God, this is awesome! Exactly what I'm talking about. Lifesteal set with resistance. So, attention, Ubisoft. I need you to build a new Nat 3 creature that does damage based on resistance so that I can take full advantage of all these stats that are coming around. I'm going to build a Bruiser new unit that does damage based on resistance. Okay, I'm looking forward to it. All right, here we go. So, funny enough, though, let me go ahead and check. I don't want to... yeah, look at this. We got... See, I'm always trying to throw in a little bit more in the video, yeah? I'm going to go ahead and buy... what is it? A legendary fragment piece from the arena, because I just realized that we got a couple of pieces here, so we might as well get it done. Let's see if we get lucky. All right, we just got a new Nat 4, so the chances of us getting something new, it's not going to be it. But hey, let's go ahead and do it for the grand finale for the video. Let's see if we get lucky. We just got an Earth Colossus. Can we get a new unit? We still got a couple of Nat 3s that we're looking at, so let's see what we get. Oh, the Snow Maiden. Okay. So, Air Snow Maiden. Let's take a look at it. New unit. Attacks all enemies and lowers turn bar by 40% if targeted. If the targeted enemy has 3 focus marks, the cooldown of the enemies will be increased by 2. So AoE cooldown reset as well as a turn bar manipulation. Pretty strong. And then this attacks the enemy and prevents them from receiving healing effects for 1 turn. So hopefully that can improve to like 2 turns. The cooldown on that is really low, which is super nice. Now, this is going to be great for PvE content. TOT is going to be fun to use this one. I already have 2 Nat 4 attack bar manipulators, but you know, AoE turn bar reduction plus cooldown reset. I mean, we can make the argument that this is the new unit, and take a look at that base speed. That is super strong. So you guys will have to tell me in the chat down below, out of all these Snow Maidens, which one is the one that you guys are excited about. I'm actually excited to check this unit out. So that's going to be it, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's your boy Childish, ChildishPlays, checking out. Take care. We will see you all in the next one. I'm out.